everybody, it's me, Tokkuri Yashi. How is everybody doing? Today we are back to have a look at this month's clan battle in April 2025. Today we're going to be having a look at a combination of the Akurumi website and the Worry Chef's Google Docs to look at some teams for the bosses we're going to be fighting this month. The links will be in the descriptions as always. So, the first boss we will be taking on this month is the Great Goblin, or Goblin Brave as it is here, who as we can see here is weak to wind and light. So, first we're going to jump over to Akurumi. Let's have a little look at some automatic teams here, and for Great Goblin, looks like we have got Pilot Owie here being used quite a bit. So we've got our light physical team, we've also got a wind physical team just underneath that. Now I did run this top team here for 250 million, tanked by the Little Lyrical trio here, and the Little Lyrical died on me, it didn't work out too well. Then I tried the one beneath it with Saren, the Xmas Siren tanking. That one didn't do anywhere near the damage that it claimed to, so for me, I think the best automatic team is this wind physical one here with the 6-star Ray. 6-star Ray actually getting some use here in this team, so we're going to run that one in a minute. Let's just jump over then to Worry Chefs to have a look at some timelines. There is a timeline here for that team there with Little Lyrical, 278 million damage. If you're having problems like me and Little Lyrical die, then maybe this team here with June tanking, a very simple timeline there, 247 million damage, not bad at all. Timeline summary for this boss there, 278 million with Little Lyrical tanking. If you can, build that team. If not, maybe going with June tanking, not too bad an option. If not, we've got this wind physical team. So let's jump over into game. We'll send in that team and see how it does. So let's jump into the Great Goblin then. Goblin Brave. We're going to go in with an automatic team just for this. We're going to go in with this wind physical team. The light physical teams supposedly do a bit more damage. Actually, we need to unset Theo. We need to unset 6-star Ray there. Let's see how this one does. It's supposed to do about 220 million damage. As I said, the light physical teams were potentially a little bit better if you could get them to work, but I don't know really what condition it is. It is a TP 1.4 to 2.1. I thought I had at least 1.4 on my TP, maybe not. So if you can't get that working, then it's probably a better choice to go with the team with the Xmas June tanking for the Little Lyrical. I think I'll probably give that one a bit of a go when we finally get into clan battle. If I'm going to take on this Great Goblin, quite a bit of damage that can be had from this boss. 278 million if you can get that team with Little Lyrical tanking working. So it's nice to see that we have got 6-star Ray being used actually in the clan battle. Which was maybe a little bit questionable when we did a little test of it, if she would make it in, but she definitely has. It might also be better to run this team, because Pilot Owie is maybe used a little bit later on in the Neption boss, so again, a bit of overlap there. Pilot Owie in 2 boss fights, so if you have to run both of these bosses during one loop, and you can't use Pilot Owie in 2 of them, I've got one to borrow, then this wind team here might be a backup. So there we go. Goblin Great, 211 million damage, a little bit less than what was claimed, but not so bad for an automatic team. Probably will use the Xmas June team when we finally get into clan battle run that timeline. So there we go, that is Goblin Great. Let's move over then to boss number 2. Let's move on then to boss number 2 this monthly, Lancl, who is weak to wind and to dark. So, back over to Akurumi for some automatic teams here, and this is where we're faced. This time we're seeing Vampy, 6-star Vampy being used. It's been out for a couple of months now, and this is the first clan battle where she is in the top team here for automatic, 220 million damage. There is also Princess Carol in that team. I will say Princess Carol is potentially used later on, so if you want to use it on that later team against the other boss. Then maybe the other dark physical team here might be an option, although I didn't run it and it didn't do anywhere near the damage that it claimed here. Other than that, we've got some wind magic, another wind physical team with 6-star rate again being an option. Hopefully there is something that you can build here. 220 million, not bad at all for an automatic team if you can pull it off. So let's look over here at simple timelines for boss number 2. 248 million here with this vampy team. Not too bad a timeline there. A bit of Makoto 6-star tanking on that one. There's Ray 6-star for this one, 225 million. So there are a few options there to use if you are short on some of them. Timeline summary, boss number 2 then. We see here 280 million with that vampy team if you can run that manual timeline. If not, a few other options down there. Well, vampy is the way to go for this boss. So let's send in one of these teams then and see how we do. Okay, so moving on to boss number 2 then, the Lancl. We're going to go with this vampy team. Finally get to use vampy in clan battle with their 6-star. You had to wait a little bit, but it is finally here. So with this automatic team, we unset Homari there and Nenica. Nenica 2, Alpha Nenica, getting another little bit of running in clan battle. It's not the first time we've seen here, but obviously, depending on what the bosses are, how they're designed, not even the best characters are not always used in the clan battle mode. So 220 million is what this team is claimed to be doing on this automatic. There is the physical team, which I didn't do anywhere near as damage when I tried it, so I don't know if that will be an option if you wanted to run that. The second best option is probably, as we saw, a wind physical team. We've got Ceremonial Chica, not Ceremonial Ranfer. Ceremonial Ranfer in there again. Chica's nowhere to be seen because it's single target, I imagine. But she's a little bit further down. You put Chica on the team, it's a little bit less damage, but it's the summer we saw her with the Ceremonial Ranfer that it seems to be the second best option for this. I imagine running the timeline on this boss with this team will result in considerably more damage, so that's what I will be doing if we're taking on Lancl this clan battle. 206 million, again a little bit less than the 220 that was claimed, but not too bad there. Carol here, the Princess Carol being used in another boss too, so maybe if you could build the wind magical team that we saw there with the Ceremonial Ranfer, that might be an option to go with to save this Carol for a later boss. So there we go, let's move over then to our third boss. Okay, time for boss number 3, Madam Prism. And as we can see, this month she is weak to fire and to dark element. So over to Akarumi then for some simple automatic teams. And here we can see we're starting to get a little bit more reliant on this role mastery, upgrading the Princess Knight. It might make some of these teams not work so well. TP 2.2 chance of death on this top one, TP 1.3 plus on this one. So again, more RNG, more grinding, more things to consider when it comes into clan battle, but it does look like fire magic is the way to go here. 250 million with this top team here. Although we have got the Xmas Pecorine tanking, if you do have a. If not, we can send in Edo Kuka. A few other options down here, but this is one where you do need the Xmas Lariel, it seems, if you're going to do any kind of damage at all. There's a few physical teams at the bottom there, and an Anemone in there as well. But if we have a look over here at Worry Chefs, the Anemone team has got a timeline, 234, not so bad. 244 for this timeline here, not too bad, but for more complicated timelines, if we go on to the summary, looking at 257 million there with this team with the Pecorine tanking. Otherwise, maybe we could get away with Worm and Lind, or maybe Anemone. So let's see how we can do against this boss. Let's send in a team and see how he does. Okay, so let's move on to boss number 3 then, Madam Prism. And we are going to jump in here with this fire magic team. This is the boss where we need to be using fire magic. So it could be a little bit difficult to be. I've had to borrow the Xmas L'Oreal. Thank you for that, Luna. And this is also where we can see we have got the aerial Croce. Our new aerial Croce we got this month is a very major part of this team. And this team that we're running here is claimed to do about 215 million damage. There are better teams out there. If you don't have, well, there's no reason why you wouldn't, but if you don't want to run the Maho, at the back here you can swap Maho for the Edo Kuka. It's supposed to do slightly more damage. My Edo Kuka isn't 5-star or built yet, so that's why we're running this variation of the team. Although the best variation of this team is the one with the Xmas Pecorine tanking. One's also got the Princess Carol in it, the Dark Princess Carol. So if you didn't want to run here against Boss 2, I believe it was, Boss 2, then again you could maybe be running here against Boss 3 here against Madame Prism. But again, we've got lots of new fire magical teams. If your fire magic team isn't very good, then you're probably going to be skipping Madame Prism this month. Croce making a really big impact on this team with their support, but I'm pretty sure it's L'Oreal here that does all of the damage. We got to see a comparison of L'Oreal and the Princess Carol on that other team if you can build that one. Unfortunately, I can't. They don't have the Pecorine or the L'Oreal. So there we go, 200, just over 200, 201 million damage there with that team on auto. This is probably the second best team with the timeline, if you run the simple timeline, go with. If not, and you've got the Pecorine and the Princess Carol team is probably the way to go. So there we go, Madame Prism. Let's jump over then to boss number 4. Okay, boss number 4 this month, Neption, who is weak to water and light. Water and light. So let's jump over then into Akarumi. Have a look at some simple teams, some automatic teams here for this. Again, TP 1.4 plus needed for that top one. Again, we've got Pilot Aoi here on the team. We've got the New Year's moniker, our free-to-play New Year's moniker for 229 million for that top team. Few teams similar underneath there. Croce tanking on that one. Then we could maybe go for some a magical team there with Para-An tanking, Dark Magic with Para-An. Few other options here as well if you can't build one of those top teams up there. So let's jump over there into Worry Chefs. 285 million with this New Year's moniker team with this timeline. 189 million there. Zuki. It was well a bit of an option there. 118 million with this magic team here. So what's the timeline summary looking like for boss number 4? But 240 million is the maximum we've got now. Having that New Year's moniker built could be very handy for this boss if you want to take them on. Otherwise, maybe we're going to have to go with that magical team there with Pirate Ann at the front. So let's jump in with one of these teams then and see how we can do against Nepturion. Okay, moving on to boss number 4 then, Nepturion. So again, this is the second running for light physical, but this time we're going a multiple target instead of single target. Pilot Aoi getting a second running. Very good for both multiple target and single target bosses. And we have got the New Year's moniker here at the front tanking this. And my moniker here is only 3-star. It does request 5-star for the timeline for the team, but I think it still works at 3-star. So we're going to give it a go and see how it does. 229 million is what's claimed for this team on full auto like this. But we've got on the back here, we've got Winter Uni. I mean, the boss is weak to water, but I was thinking, why are we using Winter Uni and not Labarista for an action speed buffer on here? Well, I think the answer to that is the healing that we get from this Uni. Tried running it with Labarista and people started dying. So I think what Uni here is doing is keeping us alive with the healing. There are a few other teams that we did see for this boss, but mainly this is the one that we want to be going for if you can build it. Running a timeline for this team, which is what I will probably try to do. Once we get into Cloud Battle, you get up to 240 million damage as we've seen there. The other compositions, it's a little bit of mix and match there if you can do so. So what did it say that this was supposed to be doing? 220 229 million, 214 million, not so bad. So even though, like you said, with the 3-star New Year's moniker, the team still works pretty well. Not necessarily have to be 5-star, to be 5-star, you would expect to get a little bit more damage out. Pilot Aoi again, being used for a second boss. So there we go. Let's move on to our final boss then this month. So on to our final boss this month, the Minotaur, who is weak to fire and to water. So once again, jump over to Akarumi here for some automatic teams, and this is where Ho-chan is being used this clan battle. Looks like we need to go fire physical for Minotaur. Might be very tricky for some of these teams. I mean, even though I got Ho-chan, I am still struggling here. There's a lot of these fire physical characters that have come out, been released in the last year or two that I don't have, that's making it very difficult. But we're looking at about 218 million there for that top team if you could buy it. SA Siren, Summon Naya, even Winter Cheru there, jumping over, making an appearance. Akino Siren too, one character that maybe you haven't pulled from the pre-fest balance if you're a newer player, which might make this a little bit more tricky, but there are a few different compositions, so hopefully you can find one to use if you choose to run a team against Minotaur. So over to Worry Chefs. We have a few timelines here again for these teams. What damage are we looking at? 233 million for this one here. What's the timeline summary for Minotaur? 265 million there with the Astral Yori tanking, if you can get that team to work. I think that's probably the team I'm going to run in a minute, just automatic. But a few other options there. Fire physical, if you've got Ho-chan, you might be alright here. If not, you might need to borrow here. You might need to borrow some others. Maybe Minotaur might be a little bit tricky this month. Let me know how you're doing with that, and we will jump over then into game, see if I can run one of these teams against the Minotaur. So moving on to the final boss this month then, Minotaur, and we're going to go in with this team here. This is where we are probably going to be using the fire physical team this month. So Ho-chan, who is our most recent limited character, is going to be getting a lot of use in this team here against this boss. There are a few teams that are similar to this that we can use, as we just seen. This one's supposed to do about 200 million damage. Usually I think it's the tank that we swap out. We got Wild Masori, we could have the Summon Naya in there. We can even see here that the Astral Yori is capable of tanking this if we get everything in order. Christina too can tank it on her own. So there are a few compositions to be built if you can't quite build this one, but I think it will be quite difficult. I think Fire Physical is actually one of the more difficult teams to build with the amount of limited or recent characters that is there for it. We've also got the Witcheru with water that can be switched into this team as well, which might make things a little bit easier, as we can see there. Hopefully you manage to get Ho-chan. Running this team that we have on the timeline should give us a little bit more. If you can get Winter Cheru in it as well, who we switch? If you're switching Christina for Winter Cheru, that looks like the best team at the moment with the manual timeline at 265 million. But if not, I think this team should do too well. Can we get anywhere near 200 million with this team? Finally giving Ho-chan a bit of a run out in a first clan battle. Very, very important character for the team. So is Neption here at the back. This usually is, it's like about the core of a fire physical team today. So we're a little bit shy, it looks, of the 200 million, 192 million. But running a timeline for this team should hopefully give us a bit of a higher score. Christina obviously doing the most damage there. So that is the clan battle for April 2025. Hopefully you can build some teams to take on these bosses. Good luck everybody who is taking part in the clan battle. There may be a few more teams added to some of these timelines over the coming days as the clan battle goes on. So it might be worth coming back and checking and having a look. So let me know how you did with the clan battle there. Good luck to everyone, like I said. I am Tokkuri Yashi, and I will see you all again for another video. Bye! Bye 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 bye. Hey!